So we have our cell. He drew this picture in class. He gave you a potassium leak channel. Do you remember all this?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an ATP pump. Or first, what's high in the cell normally?
Potassium.
Yep. We have a big K and a little Na. And outside we have a big Na and a little K. So this pump, do you remember what it exchanges out? What comes in, what comes out?
3 sodium, 2 potassium.
Yep. So we're going to push out 3 nerds in exchange for 2 cool kids. So that's how I remember it, just because it's like, oh, we're willing to lose more nerds to gain a few cool kids. But I don't tell people this normally, but I'm like, it's 2 calories, because everyone likes calories.
I believe it.
Okay, and then we have our 2 voltage gates. Okay, this one's the sodium voltage gate, and then we have a potassium voltage gate. Okay, and at rest, these gates are both going to be shut. This is called the activation gate. This is the inactivation gate.
Okay.
And then we have our proteins that hang out, just making everything negative. So those are our 5 players. They talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think what that's going to be. Okay, so normally you have your action potential curve. At rest it's going to be -70, and we want to get it to a +20. Brother Baker doesn't really care about that number though. And then you have your threshold. So if we're here, we normally want to depolarize the cell, repolarize, hyperpolarize, and then get back to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the way we do this is when we depolarize, we're basically polar opposites, means 2 far points. We just want to close those points together.
Okay.
By doing that, we're going to open up this gate. Sodium's going to want to come in, right? Sodium's a cation, meaning it's a positive charge,
Okay.
and it's going to bring in those positives. Yay, positives. Well, our cell's being more positive, so we're depolarizing it. That's what's happening there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, because stop me if it doesn't, because this takes
No.
forever.
For some reason, I never put those 2 together, like this graph and this. And so it was like 2 separate things in my mind.
It's more concepts. No, same thing. Same thing. This chart is just basically a graphical representation of what's happening in the cell.
And this is the first stage of the 3.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, this is your resting membrane potential. When did we start? I think we started on 14. We'll let them know when we stop talking about the guides. So yeah, this is the graphical representation of what's here. So if I stuck my little kind of pole in to like measure it, I normally get -70. But when this gate opens, this is like the first step of the action potential.
Okay.
When that gate opens, positive ions start flowing in. So now when I read it, I'm like at, we'll say -55. More of them start coming in, and all of a sudden I'm at +20. And I successfully depolarize the cell.
Okay.
Then at this point, well, also during depolarization, this K gate slowly opens. Key thing to remember here is it's slow. So it's slowly opening. Because it's so slow, it doesn't really make a difference. But at this peak, it's now all the way open. And we're going to close this inactivation gate, inactivating sodium from coming in the cell.
Okay.
So now, if this is a K gate, what's going to be going in and out? Potassium, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this potassium's higher in here, lower here. And all the ions are all about like equality for all. Yeah. So this is going to want to leave the cell. So it's taking with it all the positive charges. So they're leaving, so we start taking away positive. If we take away positives, we're what? Going to start getting a little more negative. So we start dropping again. That's what's happening there.
Okay.
And then this gate's slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at -70, the cell is going to be like, all right, guys, like, we're good. We're back to rest. Close the gates. But the gate's so slow that, like, while it's closing, these ions still can leave until it's all the way closed. By the time it's all the way closed, it's like at, let's say, -90. And that's called hyperpolarized. just because we're not now just polar, like polar opposites, we're like super, super different. So that's why we're way down here. Here's where the K gates officially close. And then the NA gate is already like that closed up here.
Yeah.
So it's still closed. So now everything's closed. If we our gate's closed. This is going to go back to what it was to begin with, which is just this one shut, this one open. And then this pump is going to kick in to build up this gradient again. Because we're way down here, but our cells like to be at -70. So the pump is kind of going to do this to get back to where we like it to be. So it's going to be like, all right, potassium, come in. We need you back in the cell.
Going the whole time, it only gets kicked on.
It is, but not super forcefully.
Okay.
So let's say, like, while this was all happening, they're like, 2 kids in, 2 cool kids in, 3 nerds out, 2 in. And then when it gets here, it's like, oh man, why are we at -90? Guys, you were supposed to shut a long time ago. So it's like, out, in, you know? They're like, start working a lot faster.
That makes sense.
So that's what's going on with this curve. It's just showing you what's happening in the cell. Brother Baker, like, I think one of the questions you're talking about is he likes to say, what if at rest, so we're talking about -70, I increase my potassium ion concentration? What does that do for the cell?
Inside the cell?
Inside the cell, intracellular. And then what's going to happen is because this is resting membrane potential, we don't look at it as, oh, we've increased. A lot of people say, well, we increased a positive ion, so we're getting more positive. But we're looking at the potential for it to leave. So what happens is this normally was just kind of leaking out this leak channel. If I increase it, also known as making this K even bigger, now it really wants to go out. Because now it's like, wow, where's our equality? Like, we really want to be even. So it's going to start like, well, it doesn't work.
It's dying.
Yeah, it's dead. So now that this K is really big, or in other words, this K is really small, it's like, oh, we're going to go out like really big. So, what's leaving when potassium goes out?
Your positive ions.
Right, so if we take away all the positive, what's left?
Negative.
Just negative. So when we increase our potassium concentration in the cell, we're going to get more negative. Or in other words, we're going to be in a hyperpolarized situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.